don't worry about the facility on it. I ain't getting into that. Anyway, Pamela says you want to know about how we got saved, or you want to know about this or that, or whatever. It was all about church security and stuff. They said no, we ain't interested. We only want to know about Iran. And I was thankful that Pam was with me, because if I would have went home and told her what happened, there's no way in hell that she could have believed me. But she heard it, and she's right there and with me what had happened. They grilled me for over an hour, and I got up and I finally walked out and told them I had no part of it. I wouldn't talk to them. I wouldn't give them one answer on it.
And like James is talking about, that's the way I am too. There's operations that you're involved in which are legit, and people are still possibly involved. So kudos to James, because he still keeps it on the down low about that, doesn't reveal. I'm the same way, but I will talk about the bullshit, right? So and that's what you've been doing, so good for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Zach Sheldon, the FBI agent, admitted that when they interviewed a lot of people, at the bottom, I don't know, it was page 50, 51, or 52 at the bottom, one of the side notes they got at the bottom of the page was where they had kidnapped me, tortured me for a couple of days, and they admitted they failed to break me to speak of any crime that I had been involved in. And I tell you what,
right?
But when I wrote a note, had him call my wife up and tell them to go get Gorilla and to get me out of the hospital. Gorilla was my lieutenant. He come and got me. He picked me up out of the wheelchair. They told him, we want to keep him for observation in the hospital. Gorilla said, no. He said, taking my boss home. And so he's sitting in my living room with a Remington Model 870 with a folding stock on it. And this folding stock said law enforcement only. He sat there for a week, and I kept gun cars at the end of the block and in the driveway. The Broadview police came by, see how I was. They said, if you need more help, more protection, they said, we'll send a couple squad cars over to stay with you. And it took me a week before I could even talk when Gorilla carried me home. And I was black and blue from one end to the other end.
Wow. Incredible.
And you haven't had any fun until you had your belly button tickled with an electric prod from the inside.
FBI.
And that was the FBI. And Zach Sheldon admitted that he was been there, but he took no part in the torture.
And then you said, well, does that make it right?
So Zach Sheldon and I became very good friends. We talk regular on the phone. We go out for dinner, we get together. Either I'm in Texas or when he was up this way north. We, like I say, we became very good friends. But Zach, I respected him because he never lied in court. He didn't plant no evidence on me or anything.
There's a picture of Zach later that I sent you, Michael. And also, the primary thing, the reason that my understanding that they kidnapped Jim and to question him was they wanted Charles Nicoletti's ledger that had the list of something like 66 names in it that as a team that they had hit for the mafia, one of which was John F. Kennedy. The hit list.
The 70s was a very bloody time for the outfit Chicago.
You want to go through more of the pictures?
Yeah, let me share this one real quick. This is from James's one of James's books that you and Pamela did, Interview with History, to show you guys that there is corruption within all branches, of course the military as well, like we're talking about. This is a General Edward Lansdale, who at that time Deputy Director of Special Operations for the Pentagon. So he's involved. He was involved in all this stuff, working both sides. He was like everybody thought he was on the up and up, but he's working this parallel military and parallel, government. So this is some of the stuff that James is disclosing in his work. Very frustrating. right? So most of us think that all this stuff is only up and up and everybody's good, but that's really not the case. So let's go back to the pictures. Jim, you still there?
I'm here.
Jim Scott.
Okay. Like I said, too many gems.
That's it. So we're gonna
Wilder Scott.
So now we're gonna talk about Charles Nicoletti. The picture that we're showing right now, James and Pamela, is that window that you can kind of see Nicoletti in that one window.
I can speak a little bit on it.
Yeah, go ahead, Jim. Perfect.
Okay, so this is the famous James Ike Altgene's photograph, and if you were to zoom in on the windshield of the limousine, the front one, you can see that John F. Kennedy has already raised his hands to his throat. And then you can see, if you go a little bit to the left, you can see that Conley's head is turned to the right already. You can see the side of his head, his left ear. That's the secret. There you go, right there. And then you see the Secret Service agents, they've heard the shot. And the ones on the right side of that Cadillac, that was called the Queen Mary by the Secret Service. They've started to turn around. And then the building that's from behind is called the Daltex building. And if you look at the fire escape, there's a spotter sitting on the second floor. And the window that's open just below that spotter, no, not right there. The guy sitting on the fire escape. You see him? Right there. All right, yeah. Right below him, the window's open and the bottom window's right there. That's where the shots came from that Charles Nicoletti fired. Johnny Roselli was in that room with him. Jim, you want to tell him about that room?
The room was rented a week in advance. Not rented, but, they contracted in it to have the room remodeled and repainted and everything. And that was the excuse to get the people out of there so the room would be available for us. And tarps were in there, the scalpels were in there for painting and everything. So I was never in the room myself, but Chuck and Johnny got in there. Eugene Halbreeding was there for one reason. That was he had the key to the room. It was kept locked. And he opened it. Chuck and Johnny went in. Eugene allegedly locked the door behind him. And when the shots were over, he went and unlocked the door and let them out. And because they didn't want anybody walking in on them while, they was taking the shots or getting ready to do their thing.
Now, Jimmy, was there ever a shot fired from the book depository?
I don't believe there was.
Yeah, I don't either. So, everyone is compartmentalized, guys. You have your mission, you do your thing, and then you move. All right, so that's what all these guys did. They prepped for this. Now, they actually had prepped to actually assassinate Kennedy in Chicago. Is that correct?
Right.
Yeah. But everything didn't, pan out right. So that's the way these missions are. You have multiple, plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D, and you're sometimes you're constantly moving to do your mission. Things.
The reason it didn't pan out in Chicago is Tony Accardo put a lid on it and said, no, it will not happen in Chicago. He said, we won't even be able to work or make a dollar. He says, do it somewhere else. Because I had selected the spot, which is Joseph's Restaurant in Hillside, Illinois, alongside the Eisenhower Expressway.
So you were involved in that one too. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
Very interesting. Yep.
But not the plot that was in the fall of 1963. It was the one that was in the spring.
So there's always disinformation involved in these. Now you are obviously involved in it. That's, to me, it's cut and dry. There's no question whatsoever. And anyone that wants to refute this is ridiculous. It's like, night and day. It's
Yeah.
Now there's all these other things that they try and leak in. Tell us about that.
Red
I
herrings.
heard that the French were involved and all kinds of crazy stuff. Tell us about all that silliness that goes on.
Propaganda.
The one party was, forget his name, Jerez or something or other. He's supposed to have been their French hitman. But they broke that one down. They proved that he was in Paris that day.
Lucien Sartin.
But they had all kind of names. They like to muddy the water.
Yeah.
Red herrings.
Same thing with 9/11. So they have
Yeah.
all these different things that they flush into the system to
Yeah.
discombobulate everything.
After 9/11, they had Bin Laden, one of the key players at it, that he was this and that and then a terrorist. But Bin Laden worked for the CIA.
Yeah.
And
Tim Osman.
when they got through, they put a blackout, no planes were flying out of the country that night or anywhere else.
hmm
But yet, the one plane that left is Bin Laden's family. They flew them out of the family out to keep them safe. Well, there's no flights. How come that family went? Why would they let somebody go when their son was one of the most wanted terrorists in the world?
Good point. Because they're all in on it. And,
all of them in on it.
all
Bin
of them.
Laden was not killed that night when they went over there and pulled that raid,
Right.
and he wasn't buried at sea. Bin
No.
Laden died at the Mayo Clinic up there in Minnesota. He had cancer real bad. They didn't get him out soon enough.
Show that little clip where they were they were asking the CIA about this heart attack gun, and they basically said, yeah, we got a heart attack gun, and so I'm gonna play that clip for you guys right now. So that's good, James, because I think a lot of people that get out of line have been hit by the heart attack gun, and they also have
Yes, definitely. A lot of people.
yeah.
There's a whole book, JFK, The Dead Witnesses.
Heart attack machine, because they've used the heart attack machine on me, and unfortunately it didn't work on me. It kind of seized my heart up, but I was able to work through it. But a helicopter was flying alongside me and hit me several times. So these are real things that are out there.
Oh, yes.
Let me share the screen, and thanks for validating that, because I know people over the years are like, you're crazy, Mike, but yeah, this is the real deal, guys.
Also, I had to find one time. They wanted me to find out if there was such a thing as a poison that was undetectable, especially one that seemed to mimic a heart attack that would kill someone, but it would appear that they had a heart attack. I did find such a thing.
And it would be gone within 60 minutes. The body would show no poison at all.
Yep, and that's what they're talking about that here. Very good. Wow.
Yeah.
You know this stuff a lot more than way more than I, because you were involved in the assassination program. Pretty cool.
Chairman, and a special one was developed which potentially would be able to enter the target without perception.
The poison was frozen into some sort of dart, and then it was shot at very high speed into the person. So when it reached the person, it would melt inside them, and the only thing would be like one little tiny red dot on their body, which was hard to detect. There wouldn't be a needle left or anything like that in the person.
But also the toxin itself would not appear in the autopsy? Yes. So that there was no way of perceiving that the target was hit.
For many,
So there you go, guys. Now at the CIA headquarters, they have a history museum, and you walk through there, and they show you all the different things they've used over the years, over the decades and decades of contraptions that they've made to kill and assassinate people. So they're experts.
Yep.
Well, right after Wolfman had been killed, Joe West had just rushed to the hospital, and he's working on his heart. And he had a visitor, somebody come in there to see him, and they injected the poison into the IV line, which finished him off. But right before that happened, his wife and daughter was there, and he wrote them a note. He couldn't talk. He wrote a note. He says, quick, he says, get me out of here. They're trying to kill me. The nurse told him, and I've got this on a email thing that was sent to me. The nurse told him, she said, oh, everybody thinks we're trying to kill him. And 45 minutes later, Joe West was dead.
On the court case about exhuming JFK's body to prove that there were more than one shooter died with it.
Oh, I told Joe West when he come to see me at Stateville, and he told me he was trying to get John F. Kennedy's body exhumed. I said, you never get it exhumed. I said, now, well, what you got there for evidence? I said, what you have to do is go to court and file again and say that you know that, for instance, or for sure, that mercury round was used, and there's traces of mercury inside the body of the skull. Have it dug up, and they'll dig it up, but the body won't be there. I said, what I'm telling you can get you killed. And he was dead within a couple of months after that.
Wow.
But he had the case filed in court, and we've got that in one of our books.
The primary target.
And
That's a good point, James, because we share, like you did, you shared with someone, and that can get people killed. That's another reason why we don't share a lot of stuff. So a lot of people think that, oh, you're just trying to protect yourself because you're scared they'll come after you. No, we have
I got nothing to lose. They ain't gonna get much out of me, you know what I mean? I ain't got that much life left. I'm 84 right now.
Well, another problem with that is, they'll come after, even if you reveal on your deathbed, they'll still come after your loved ones if you reveal. Yeah. So it's probably never going to be heard from you.
So that's why I've never told Pamela any of my darkest covert operations that I ran. And I ran some of the murkiest ones. I mean, they were really bad.
Man,
some of the things I did, I don't even want my daughters to know I did.
Because we're in a situation now. What are your, since you have obviously some deep insights on Iran, what do you think about the current war right now?
Right now, I was all for it when Trump went in there, but he stopped because he should have taken out their economy right off the bat. Close their seaports down, get rid of the Air Force, get rid of their whole economy, do it all in one sweep,
Yeah.
But all the plans we got, we get it nailed all in places and shut it down. But he stopped it. He's giving them time to restock and this and that, bullshitting with them. And for me, I live by 2 rules. Number 1, I don't negotiate. Number 2, I got a problem, I kill it. I live by that. I survived it.
We think alike. And so I would have done the same thing, but I think there's a bigger picture going on. He's trying to show the world what's going on. And and he's basically getting people in position. So when he does hit them, it's going to be, like you're talking about, it's going to hammer them like no one's ever been hammered ever before in history. So I think I said all along, there's going to be boots on the ground. There's no way, because these guys are animals. They're the savages. We're going to have to kill them.
Well, you got 15,000 Marines already there.
Yep.
Waiting to be launched inland to go on land.
Oh my God.
15,000, yeah. That's just counting the Marines. That's not counting the 82nd Airborne that's there. That's not counting SEAL teams that are there.
Exactly. And it's not counting, probably have within all of these cities and so forth, special groups that are ready to cooperate and help and make things happen a lot faster.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's a tragedy what happened to SEAL Team 6.
Yeah, that really is. Kind of like the evil side of the government, decided
Obama should have never made them public and put it out there on the TV screen and had them at the White House through that, because this is endangering their families and everything.
Yep. Yeah, very, very tragic. And then the helicopter going down. I'm still very suspect about that, but I know I'm going to talk to some people that gave them some deeper insight. there was a woman that was in one of the special aircraft that can see what's going on the ground, and she said that she saw them dying slowly. And I'm like, no, I don't think so. Not after what I heard from Jim Scott. Jim, I don't know if you can reveal what you heard about the helicopter.
Are you talking about Extortion 17?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so yeah, actually, one of my pilots flew in that squadron. I'm the safety director of High Voltage Aviation now, and we have MD 500 helicopters, and we do power line work. And I'm not going to expose the identity of this pilot, but he was in that squadron. The Extortion Squadron was a Colorado National Guard squadron. They weren't the 160th, and they were flying in direct support of the SEALs and the other special ops guys that were flying in there. Two things he told me interesting was, one, about the crash of Extortion 17. He's seen the video. It was being videoed because they had the drone was up videotaping the entire thing.
Yep.
There was a guy with an RPK machine gun about 5 stories up behind it, and it was zeroed on the LZ. And actually, when Extortion 7 got shot down, that was the 3rd helicopter that had flown in that LZ and had been damaged. But anyway,
Wow.
when the pilot in command, I'm not going to mention his name, but he flew the CH-47. He was a instructor pilot for the high altitude mountain ops training out in Colorado. And they fly a very steep confined area landing approach. It's a slow, gradual, controlled, so that if you run out of power available, you could, turn away and go down the mountain and, not crash into the mountain, because landing at really high altitudes in a helicopter, you can run out of power. So he's flying this slow approach, and when he got kind of near the edge of it was an LZ on one side on the mountaintop and then a cliff on the left, at one of the Afghanis fired an RPG, and it came up and it struck one of the retreating blades. The fluke chance in the movie, it shows it coming in the back ramp, like coming in the aircraft, with the ram down in the. It didn't do that. It actually hit one of the retreating blades about 6 feet from the tip and cut the blade off. And with that loss of lift of that blade, it caused a major imbalance of the aft rotor head. So they would have lost lift, and then the back end would have squatted down, and then it basically fell down the cliffside and tumbled and crashed into a rocky intermittent stream at the bottom of the cliff. Almost as soon as it hit it was full of jet fuel, almost, just what they'd burned to get there.
Exploded.
And there was a huge fire and explosion. It burned for 12 hours. And almost at the very second where the fire went out, it started raining. And it rained really hard. And that little dip at the bottom of that cliff was in an intermittent stream. And my guy said that the helicopter was under 12 feet of water for about a week.
Jesus.
So there was no way they could have rescued those guys. And I think they did DNA tests on their corpses. They couldn't even recognize anybody. They were all burned beyond recognition. But that's what happened. RPG cut the blade off, and then it fell and crashed and then burned. And then it was under floodwaters, and they were able to recover that stuff like a week later. And one thing I wanted to point out, this book entitled The Inheritance, written by Christopher and Michelle Fulton. This book is about the Cartier wristwatch that John F. Kennedy was wearing when he was assassinated. When he was hit, either in the back of the throat, whichever one it was, and he raised his hand, he exposed his wristwatch. And when Jimmy's bullet that George Calora made hit him in the temple and splashed, they got mercury on the wristwatch. The wristwatch was given to Robert F. Kennedy. It was an 18-karat gold round Cartier wristwatch, kind of a dress watch. It had a leather band, and it got mercury on the crystal. Okay, there's striations in mercury on it. Nobody knew what that was. And I think, if I'm correct, 10 days after the operation, Jim, you can comment after this. I finished this comment. The only people that knew that Kennedy had been hit in the head with a mercury bullet was Jimmy, James Files, George Calora, and David Atlee Phillips. When Jim got debriefed at 63rd and Lawler, the CIA aircraft hangar at Midway Airport, it was a taped debriefing about how he killed Kennedy. He mentioned that he used a special bullet that Wolfman made for him for the XP-100. When that happened, later on, years later, everybody wanted to know whether, the government wanted to seize it because they say it was evidence. You know what I mean? And really what they're doing is they're trying to cover up what happened. But Robert F. Kennedy gave that wristwatch to his illegitimate son, okay? And then that guy sold the wristwatch at Sotheby's later for like $1 million. But anyway, they tested that wristwatch and it had mercury on the face. And I think that's one of the pieces of evidence that absolutely proves, because I believe it was in the 1994 debriefing that Jimmy explained that he'd used a special mercury bullet to kill President Kennedy, but nobody else knew that. And how in the world could he have managed to, all those years later, put mercury on John F. Kennedy's wristwatch when it had been in the family's custody? So that's a piece of evidence that most people don't know about. But this book, The Inheritance, explains everything. And it proves that Jimmy was telling the truth, and there would have been mercury. And that's why they buried him at sea, because he's not in his grave at Arlington. No.
Jim, have you still got a copy of the police report on where the FBI was, where the kid got arrested when the FBI went there after the gun?
I do.
Around Lake Beach area? Yeah,
I do. And it's what happened was they didn't note on the arrest report that they seized the pistol. That's the actual gun that Jim used to kill Kennedy. But
they only registered the ammunition.
That's right. They said that they'd seized a box of ammunition, and they said it was 221 Remington Fireball, which we know that's what it was. Before, a lot of people thought it was a 222 Remington. When Jim explained, somehow the story got screwed up a little bit in the beginning, but Jim knew that the prototype was made in 222 Remington, the very first one.
Oh, when I said 221, everybody thought I misspoke, because most people had never even heard of a Fireball, or they had never heard of a bolt action pistol, single shot, and they took it for granted that I gave the wrong number. But it says 221. I stood by it. They found 222s, and they accused me of changing the number on it. No, the whole thing was a 221, and I've never changed that story from day one.
The 220, it was actually made first in 222 Remington, but the ones they fielded that were sold to the public and the CIA got, they were all 221 Remington Fireball. Yeah. And it's a slightly shorter case.
We got ordered 1,000. It's the agency ordered 1,000. 500 for the agency and 500 for the FBI.
Who knows where those guns are today? But
yeah,
the ones that are really collectible are the ones that have a serial number that's lower than 1,500. 4-digit serial number. I own number 1.
Right. So let me jump a little bit here. Now, Jimmy, I know you took some of the guys that were part of a Marilyn Monroe operation. You took them to the airport and they flew out.
Right.
Now, could they have actually injected poison into Marilyn Monroe to, basically?
That I don't know for sure, because I didn't ask. I just delivered them to the airport, and I picked them up. And what happened out there, I don't know, because I couldn't comment on it, because I wasn't there to see it. And what other people tell stories about, it's hard for me to believe them, half of what they tell me.
Yeah.
But you know yourself, what they taught you, the agency, you believe nothing that you hear, and you only believe half of what you see.
Absolutely. Yep.
And just like the other part, character assassination precedes physical assassination.
That's true. So on those same lines, did they character assassinate JFK to you guys so that you would be more apt to shoot him?
Well, before we killed him, they blamed him for the Bay of Pigs failure and everything else. And even I blamed him for the Bay of Pigs failure, because he didn't send in the support that the Cubans needed.
Right.
By treason.
And they changed the landing for the invasion because we had a nice place picked out, and then they put it, the Bay of Pigs area, they went to Chandler's Bay, which is a swamp.
Yeah,
That was
James
planned to
Dawson-
fail from the beginning.
Yeah, there you go. I was going to ask if you'd say that. Yeah.
Say
And
that
then
one
what they
more time.
wanted to do is send in the Marines. Part of the war.
They were talking about sending in the Marines.
Do what now?
Yeah, they had the Marines on ships right off the shore, and they wanted to do that, and they had a couple of airplanes that were painted up like Cuban airplanes. They were like B-25s or something, and they flew them. I can't remember where they came out of. Maybe
I think it was Guatemala.
yeah,
Nicaragua.
Guatemala, Nicaragua, in there. Yeah, and they
didn't
flew
work
in
out.
there, and
They asked for some air support, and he would give it to them.
yeah, it was designed to fail, and then they were going to go to Kennedy and say, "Hey, it's not working out right. We need the Marines, and we need this other support." And he told them right from the beginning. He said, "No, I'm not. If you can do it with mercenaries and the Cubans and be successful, do it. But I'm not going to get." You know, he's kind of like Trump. You know, he was kind of a peace president. You know, he didn't want the Vietnam War, and you know, as Jim pointed out before, they already had these big contracts with Brown and Root to do the port, you know, build the port and build airports and all these, you know, millions of dollars in contracts.
Wow.
Yeah,
I
now
didn't
it's
know
like
there was-
Raytheon. Yeah,
You know,
They don't do.
when we overthrew the Chilean government, we took Allende out of power and put Pinochet in. We ended 80 years of decent government. Not good government, but decent government. But we were getting our ass kicked down there regular. And we had 3,000 cutouts flown in from Argentina. The 3,000 cutouts, they were all like Germans, you know. But they were good soldiers, but we was having a rough time down there.
Now, do you think President Trump right now is, it looks like we're going to take over Cuba. Do you think, because President Trump has basically said, many times he's like JFK, cleaning up JFK maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that this is kind of, we've had, ever since then, we've had problems with Cuba, and you talked about it on my show, how they do drug running, all kind of crazy stuff, sadly, into America. But do you think that because we didn't take care of them then, that was a huge mistake, and now we're having to do it again?
Yeah, I think it was a mistake the first time.
Yeah.
But we believed that the Cubans would rise up the population after the invasion we had there, but take over and we'd have all kind of support. We didn't have any, but I didn't find out until I believe it was 77, it's either 75 or 77. We were en route to Chile, Michael Vernon Townley and me and a couple of Cubans, young kids. And we was going down there to assassinate Castro. When the kids got appendicitis, we had to put him in a hospital in Peru. And Michael called me up the side and said, well, we got to scrub this operation. We're shutting out, scrub it. I said, why? I said, hell, I could outshoot either one of them. Where they had the camera mounted inside the TV cameras. I mean, the gun was mounted inside the TV cameras and everything. And Michael got me off the side, told me, he said, we're really going to kill Castro. I said, no, what the hell are we going for? He said, so we're going down there. He said, we're going to, when the kids got up to shoot Castro, he said, I was going to intercede, shoot both them. He said, I would also be, which Michael Vernon Townley worked for the DINA, and he was lieutenant colonel, and he also worked for the agency. But he said he could be a hero of both parties. The secret police in Chile and also the agency. And at that time, when it was over with, and after we had the assassination, there in Embassy Row, Perito, his wife, she said, my husband for the agency, for the CIA, was a killing machine. She says, but now he is a talking machine for the press.
Crazy.
I like Michael Bernatali, but his wife tried to get me to kill him while we were down there in Chile.
So you remember Masood in Afghanistan? He was killed by a camera. Do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. You think the CIA was involved in that?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Wow. Holy smokes. See that's the beauty of these conversations, James. Because we can bounce stuff back and forth, and you can answer some questions that have been hanging for decades. Wow. Huh.
I think Charlie Kirk was killed by a camera gun. The guy was behind him to the right. And
That I don't know
shot.
about because I was locked up, so I couldn't sit there.
No.
Yeah.
I'm
I
talking about
know
the
Charlie Kirk is, honey. But like I say, that I didn't follow it. I don't know that much about Charlie Kirk or anything else. But yeah, I was in bed. Anyway, but that I know nothing about it. Couldn't comment on.
No, what I'm commenting on it. I wasn't trying to get you to comment on it.
I think it's all bullshit. I think the whole thing's bullshit. That's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, maybe.
Kind of like Trump getting shot in the air. I think it's all bullshit. It was all show. And I think Charlie Kirk's assassination was all show. But maybe I'm open. Maybe not. But black blood coming out of your throat. That's not normal.
Yeah.
All right, so let's any other things because we might have to start wrapping it up. I got another show to do here in a little bit. But
Hey,
Yeah.
The
one thing.
National Archives letter proving that.
Okay, Jim, did you tell Mike about the archives letter? I think you get copies, don't you?
No, I didn't.
Now, the last batch of JFK files that was released, within those files, my social security number was in there,
wow,
and it got released. And
Damn.
we received a letter from them notifying me that my social security number had been made public, and to let them know we could change it if need be or whatever. And then from the Veteran Affairs, I got a letter from them under the name Sutton about my social security number. The social security number was the same under both names.
interesting.
And
Wow.
we've got
Hey,
the
Jim,
letters here.
can you make comments about just in general terms? Tell everybody what happened at Chappaquiddick because that links to Kennedy's. You know, the CIA didn't want another Kennedy in the office, and he was going to run for
No.
president.
Teddy.
I was in Florida at the time, living down there by Homestead. And Frank Sturgis, he come by the house, and he says, Jim, he said, do me a favor. He says, yeah, what do you need? He says, you got my back. He said, I got something I got to do. And I said, I always got your back. I said, you've had mine. You saved my ass a few times. And he said, you want to know what it is? I said, I don't care what it is. So we went up there, and we met Howard Hunt there once we got there. And they killed the girl. She didn't have any water in her lungs, so she didn't drown. The reason she had air to breathe, he tried to make the story where she got in the front seat to the back seat where there's a pocket of air. And like I said, that dog don't hunt. Because if she could get in the front seat to the back seat, the window in the car was open. Why didn't she go out the window and the water wasn't that deep? Because the car wasn't submerged all the way.
Yeah.
The roof of the car was still sticking up. And Howard Hunt put a bag over her head and killed her while Frank Sturgis held her arms by her side. And he didn't grip her arms or anything. He just had his hands open, the palms of them, and pressed them against her side. And she couldn't break loose. Ted Kennedy brought her out there because he thought that she was going to be talked to, that people wanted to talk to her. And Mary Jo had no idea she was going to be killed. And Sturgis and Hunt, the two that killed her, I stood there and watched. I was guilty as the rest of them. But she had no idea what was going on, what was going on. The only thing that was concerned me was I drove the car off the bridge and tried to flip the car, but the water was too shallow right there.
Now you
But
said
before
Howard
I-
Hunt.
Before I drove the car off the bridge, I had the windows down so I could get out. Because it's very hard to open a car door when you're underwater and the water's pressing against the car.
Yeah, and she was already dead in the back seat, right?
She was dead and in the back seat before I ever drove the car off the bridge.
That's Mary Jo Kopechne. And then Ted, he was not in the car when it went off the bridge. He watched it happen.
Yeah.
Which is ironic because it is news.
The reason why he waited so long is because you guys had to get the ferry off, so they made him
Yeah,
wait.
the ferry didn't start till, I don't know, 6 o'clock or 6:30 that morning. And Howard Hunt took Teddy off, and he told him exactly what to say. And Ted Kennedy was scared to death of Howard Hunt.
Now, are you talking about E. Howard Hunt?
Howard Hunt, yeah.
Yeah.
Holy
Yeah.
smokes! He was involved in that.
Yep.
He was.
Yeah, he was in Watergate.
Yeah, and CIA Watergate scandal.
So was James. James was at Watergate.
Wow.
Yeah, I
Tell him,
wasn't
Jimmy.
involved in Watergate. I was just sitting outside in the car with Barry Seals. And we had
Right.
the second team go in. The first team was to go in there. I felt bad about it because I was letting Bray Sturgis go to jail when I could have warned him, but I wouldn't dare break the contract or breach your promise to the agency. And Barry Seals asked me if I was going to go with the second team. And I said, hell no. And he says, why? I says, you want me to shoot somebody, I'll go in here and shoot them. I said, but I ain't going in there to steal nothing. But we were stealing the training film. So what it was all about was the training film that we made at Lake Penturion, where we was jumping out of the back of a deuce and a half. George Bush was there, Lee Harvey Oswald, Jerry Hemmings, all of us. And we rolled out of the back of the deuce and a half, took position, we're guarding the outer perimeter, and yet we're all looking back at the camera. So the camera got a good shot of all of us, you know. We all wanted to be movie stars, I guess, by looking into the camera.
They wanted some dirt on you in case they needed to control you.
And they got the film back the night they killed Barry Seals.
Wow.
They shot his car full of holes, the white Cadillac he was in. I don't know why he put his head down over the steering wheel and just accepted it. Me, I would have had it in reverse, and I didn't give a shit who I run over. I'd have been getting out of there one way or the other.
Oh yeah, me too. Yeah. Huh.
But Barry just gave it up and laid his head down on the steering wheel, and they shot the hell out of him. It's over 100 rounds fired into that Cadillac.
Jesus.
The interesting thing was when we first started talking about this was that Barry was in that first picture with the Operation 40 group, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And then so they're running drugs into Mena, Arkansas many, many years later. And that's the credibility. And he's at Watergate with Barry Seal. So you got these Operation 40 guys that were in Mexico City already planning to kill Kennedy in January 63. And then here they are up in the 70s running a soft coup to throw Richard Nixon out of office. Because that was a coup just like Kennedy. It was just a soft coup. They didn't kill him. You know, the 5 of the 6 guys that got arrested at Watergate were CIA employees. And not only that, but tell them, Jimmy, about how E. Howard Hunt's wife was killed in the airplane.
Well, we just went got there, called him Johnny Bench. What was his last name, huh? You remember that?
Metcalf.
Metcalf, yeah, Johnny Metcalf. Her Metcalf. He was put on the plane to kill both of them, Dorothy Hunt and
Michelle Clark.
Michelle Carter. And the airplane, when they put a bladder inside the tanks, the plane registered had plenty of fuel and it didn't. And so they got a port to turn around there at Midway. And so they went in circle and come back in for second approach. And the plane went out of gas and they crashed at 72nd Walcott. I was home in Broadview, Illinois at the time the plane went down. And usually it's a 25 to 30 minute drive from there to the 72nd Walcott from where I lived. And that damn made it like 12 minutes. Had the blood out of my car lid, flash shit, and everything else. I was blowing the horn. And I was driving like crazy, and I got there, and crime scene was up. I mean, they had to tape up this crime scene. And I asked one of the guys, I showed them my ID. They said, your people are over there. Owners, what the hell's going on? I said, I come there not rescuing the people. They said they're searching for a briefcase. And Michelle, she knew the phone at home would be, Dorothy, I mean, she knew the phone would be tapped. So she went down the corner, used the payphone, called Michelle and told her what she had and told her what kind of briefcase to go get. And they'd make the swap on the airplane and fly to Chicago. And so Dorothy had no idea they'd have the payphone were tapped. So the agency knew about it, so they planned that, and they put you on the med cap on there. And
That's basically the problem.
Dorothy,
Enough? No.
it
Doing enough.
was either I don't remember. He killed one of the women, and he didn't know the plane was sabotaged, but he'd killed one of them. But the plane was down, and he had gotten into the tail of the plane, which is the safest place. Man, he was very upset when he found out the agency tried to wipe him out too after killing Dorothy and Michelle.
See,
He was a
Dorothy
very
was
unhappy
told-
person.
E. Howard Hunt got Dorothy to. He had a stash of materials, and he
Yeah,
was thrown in
he
jail.
had already blackmailed the Nixon government for $1 million to pay for the Cubans so that they could look while those guys were in jail.
Yeah.
I wanted to take care of their families. So then he tried to blackmail Nixon the second time around to turn him loose. Nixon wouldn't do it. So Howard Hunt, he had his wife Dorothy go there and go retrieve this material, the briefcase and everything. And he was making it popular, and Michelle was going to blow the story wide open. And it had all kind of shit and everything in there. A lot of operations.
So the tradecraft.
I'm getting pretty well tired and beaten. I'm having a hard time even thinking now, talking. But I'm gonna have to lay back down because sitting there took a lot out of me.
Well, thank you.
But I want to thank you for having us on today and talking about it, going down memory lane. You know what I mean? Going down memory lane. You know what I mean?
Well, thank you.
So, Mike, thank you for your service. Because I got a good idea what you went through. And we walked the same paths. Let's put it this way. We travel some of the same ground.
Definitely. Definitely.
Have a good
All right.
night,
And I
Jim.
don't know if you have nightmares or not, but I still have bad dreams.
Yeah.
Call me tomorrow. Yeah, call me tomorrow.
Okay. Talk to you later, brother.
Okay, brother. Call me before
Be
the
good.
race
Have a good
tomorrow.
day.
brother. Call me before
All right.
Have a good day.
Thank you, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, you guys.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
You want to go for another minute or two?
Yeah, let's share that. That website one more time.
Okay.
That website one more time.
It's their website is JFK Murder, MURDER, James Files, JAMESFILES.weebly.com, and Weebly is spelled WEEBLY, two E's. So it's JFK Murder, James Files .weebly, WEEBLY.com. And you can donate if you want to help them. They're struggling financially. They have been for a long time. You know, when James got out of prison in 2016, after doing 25 years, when Hillary Clinton tried to kill him, he had nothing, and Pam came across. There's books. There's the Primary Target JFK. That one right there, you can get that autographed. You can get this transcript. And I think they're looking for a donate. I think it says it on there, but I think this one is like $100. It's 90 some pages. Their book autographed We used to be $80 autographed, and he put his thumbprint in there. I got him to put his trigger finger in some of mine, which I thought was kind of a cool twist. A Tradecraft where they killed. I'll mention that too. There's a limited number of those colored pencil things that he did in a prison cell at Statesville. It's Jackie crying after the assassination, and that reflection, the sheen that you see on her hair, is actually drawn in there. That's not a reflection of light on the picture. It's really incredible. I mean, as simple as it is, and it's got his autograph. And I think that and a couple of the other things like the book with his autograph are going to be worth a lot of money someday. Can you imagine having a book written by John Wilkes Booth on how he killed Abraham Lincoln? And what the situation was, the political situation, that was autographed by John Wilkes Booth with his fingerprint in it. What that would be worth today, you know. But going back to the plane crash, you know, they had arrested E. Howard Hunt at the Watergate and thrown him in jail, and he, you know, got convicted and got sentenced to years and everything, and they were letting him rot in prison. And the CIA kind of eats its own. You know what I mean? And I know you know that some guys get treated rotten, or they'll go do some very heroic things, and then the next thing they do, they'll kill them some kind of way so they can't talk about it. You know, but what they do is you take an airplane, and when it's refueled, you stick a bladder in the fuel tank and inflate it, and seal it off, and then you fill the tank with fuel. But most of the tank is this bladder of air. So the fuel gauges in the cockpit say that the aircraft is full of fuel, but maybe 2/3 of the fuel tank is empty because it's an air bladder. It's just a Tradecraft way. So like if somebody's flying, you know, over mountains or over an ocean or something like that, and you want to make them, then when they crash and the aircraft burns, that little bladder burns up in the fire and there's no evidence of it. And it takes a really good investigator, especially if it smacks the water. You know, I mean, even when you ditch an airplane, like the way the Malaysian airplane was flown, controlled, they have a thing called an uninterruptible co-pilot. And that airplane was flown with the passengers in it that were dead. If you want to do a show on that, I can brief you on that. That airplane was taken over. Some of the Boeing aircraft and some of the Airbus aircraft can be flown by what's called an uninterruptible co-pilot. And you can't, the people in the airplane can't control it. They can take control of it with a computer. The flight controls don't work anymore. And if you wanted to fly airplanes into a building, you could do that. If you wanted to, but the Malaysian airplane took off and it flew up toward Vietnam, and then it went up to it ascended to something like 42,000 feet, and it stayed up there only like 15 minutes, and then it came back down almost to the surface of the water and flew out over toward the Indian Ocean and disappeared. And my understanding is they were flying it with the uninterrupted co-pilot, but what you do is you take the airplane to altitude and then you turn off the pressurization system, and everybody dies from hypoxia in about 2 or 3 minutes. So now everybody on the plane is dead. You got no witnesses. You fly it to wherever you want it. You can land it, automatic landing on a runway, maybe Diego Garcia, maybe someplace, one of those military airfields near Midway Island or whatever, someplace. And you land the airplane, and then you can do whatever you want. But the thing had in the cargo hold, it had about a ton of stuff that had been stolen. One of those RQ-9 Reaper drones that had been ambushed when they were moving it from the field to Bagram to be flown back to the States. And the Taliban got a hold of it, and they sold it to the Chinese for $9 million. And somehow they got it to Malaysia. And that flight was going to Beijing with that controller unit in it. And they knew it, and they wanted it back. So that's how they did it. They basically... They hijacked the. What's that?
Do you think that's how they did 9/11 too?
It's possible. It's probable actually. Yeah.
It's probable actually.
And I know I've got a friend also. This is totally off the subject of James Files, but he worked on the World Trade Centers. He was they had a contract. He was working for a company that was told they were installing a 138 kV trunking system, and they went in there, and for weeks there were different companies on that had like 7 or 8 floors apiece. It was completely compartmentalized, but they were drilling holes in the elevator shafts to mount this trunking system, and they were knocking holes in the concrete floor. He said big enough to put sheets of plywood through. And they worked on it only at night from like 11 at night to like 4 or 5 in the morning, and then they had to leave. And they did it for weeks, and both buildings were prepped, and he left. They were supposed to be at the FBI building in St. Louis the next Monday. And then the next day when it hit, they were told that the contract at the building, the federal St. Louis, had been canceled, and they were giving their checks. And one of my buddies told me, he said, well, we've got our tool trailers and all this stuff out here, all the tools and all that stuff and the trailers that belong to the company. What do you want us to do with that? And they said, just keep it. Wow. How about that?
Yeah.
So he went home with a trailer full of tools. And then the next day he sees the building is run into by airplanes apparently, and then the building falls into its shadow, straight down, and you got these little puffs coming out the side of the building as it's falling. And everybody that sees that knows anything about implosion, demolition of buildings. It's so blatantly obvious that the building was prepped ahead of time and blown up. And the steel beams were cut with, I understand, with a new type of nanothermite. And then they cordoned off the area, and they had, I think it was, what's the name of that company? We work with them once in a while. Something in Jennings. But anyway, they had the contract to do the cleanup, and they get in there and get all the concrete and the steel and stuff out of there. And supposedly it was bought for scrap by China or something like that. So there basically was no investigation. And they didn't want anybody to see that steel because you could see where it had been cut by a thermite charge.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that would have been easy to detect. But isn't that funny that they dropped those buildings and they didn't do an investigation? Killed 3,000 people.
No what we know about how these things work.
Say that again?
So it sounds like I'm doubling here for some reason. But it's a problem that we know that happens with all these bad things. So.
Let me mute my thing. I'm wondering if we're...
So how about that? No, it's still the same. All right, let's call it. So great show. We'll have to get together and do another one.
Save since Stevens. That's what we need to put up on his page. He thinks so. Thinks it's best. Dust, do you think it is, Tanya? Not having the comments now. She's sad. She's okay, said Mom. She's just not herself anymore. Good night. She's upset.